Welcome to the launch of our national database, Sintmaarteninfo, a database that holds our socio-economic data and enables us to, for evidence policy planning, and enables us to monitor our developmental progress of our country. My name is Andrea Ortega. I work for the Department of the Interior and Kingdom Relations, and I'm part of the project team responsible in developing this system. Also part of the project team is Mrs. McKinney Hickinson, who is the head of the Department of Statistics, and Mrs. Joyanne van Arneman. McKinney and Joyanne will give you a demonstration and presentation of the system. They will show you all the ins and outs, and they will also give you a little background information on how this project came about. After that, there's some room for questions and answers, and we would also like it if you take a seat behind one of the laptops in the back and try out the system yourself, so you can really experience the user-friendliness of the database. But before that, I would like to ask our Honorable Prime Minister to step forward to officially open today's event.
As a government, we generate and disseminate information on all major policy areas like the status of economic, social, and human development, living conditions, health, education, and environment. Statistical information results from the collection and processing of data from the different departments and ministries. Data availability is an important aspect of governance and should fuel the policy cycle. As you may recall, and know better than I do probably, the 2011 Millennium Development Report for St. Martin indicated that St. Martin was lagging behind on MDG 1, eradicating of poverty and hunger, and the Millennium Development Goal 7, ensuring environmental sustainability. In order to address those gaps, a country action plan was developed to accelerate progress in addressing poverty and environmental issues in St. Martin. The success of any policy plan and its implementation depends on reliable statistical data. Policy ambitions must be realistic and evidence-based in order to evaluate the effect of our policy interventions. A challenge in St. Martin is that much of the data held by government is not readily available, up to date, and in some areas the quality needs to be improved. Our statistical data should be validated better. Data management is essential for government to operate effectively and efficiently. This year, the Department of Interior and Kingdom Relations, DCOM, will provide a national development plan, an integrated socio-economic framework for sustainable development for the coming 20 to about 30 years. There are a few crucial elements needed in making a strategic national plan a success. One of these elements is the development of a national database system that will be presented here today, Sintmaarteninfo. The system was introduced to DCOM through the UNDP in cooperation with the Statistical Department and ICT. Numerous countries are using the same system. The system offers a friendly way to store and share information between our ministries and to disseminate statistical information in a user-friendly format. Not only will this system allow us to monitor progress of our development goals, it can be used to create high-quality reports by using the powerful data presentation tools that the system provides. High-quality and readable statistical tables and thematic maps of St. Martin at both the national and subnational level can be produced. Today's launch of Sintmaarteninfo is an important milestone in improving the governance of our country. I want to thank each and every one of you who have played a pivotal role in getting us to where we are today. Congratulations are surely in order. We are not there yet, but congratulations are certainly in order as we continue on this journey to making this the reality we want it to be.
I am happy to present to you today the first version of the Sintmaarteninfo and CensusInfo databases. Despite the turnout today, the team at least, we are still very excited, and we hope today to be able to ignite the same excitement that we have, given that quite a few representatives across the different ministries have already received training on the basics of this system and also the need of updating it. Of course, I will be highlighting the main features of the databases, but maybe even more important today will be for all of us present to start thinking more about placing a higher priority on evidence-based policy development and what concrete actions we need to take collectively to improve the accessibility to and quality of data that we have within our departments, which we should be more readily sharing with one another, so that on a national level we can boast a rich resource of data and statistics that can be fed into a system such as this one and used by all policy advisors and other senior government officials as input in their policy setting and decision-making activities. The Department of Statistics have not actually built the databases. However, we were introduced to the Dcomm technology around the time that the Millennium Development Goals, the second report, was being drafted for our country. It also became apparent that the Dcomm tool could be useful for tracking of progress and evaluation of our national development planning. As such, the creation of the databases were funded under the umbrella of the NDP project. STAT continued to play a central role in the developing of the national databases by providing published tables from our main statistical projects, after efforts to mobilize government departments and other external entities to compile NDG indicators could only be achieved for about 30% of the Caribbean indicators list. Some of you may wonder what exactly is the Dcomm technology. It is a UN-endorsed database system, primarily used as a means to track human development among and across countries via specific indicators. Given that the NDG agenda ended in 2015, the focus internationally is now on sustainable development goals. Hence, the current database structure is such that global indicators can be monitored. However, where these are not readily available, there is flexibility to localize the system to offer other social economic information, which is basically what we have done here, and these can always be adapted to our national development and other sectorial plans. So I'll turn now to my presentation, and I'm being assisted this afternoon by a senior researcher. She's relatively new to our department, Ms. Joyanne van Angeman. She will click through as I take you on a bit of a tour through the database. As I mentioned, it's a social economic database that basically monitors human development and other national development targets. So data is organized, stored, displayed, and can be accessed in two ways. There's a desktop version of the databases as well as a web-enabled tool. So once you have the link, you can access an internet connection, you can access the databases from basically anywhere. You are able to save information and also share it via email, Facebook, Twitter, etc. The database it does not handle primary data. Rather, the core of the database is based on global and local indicators, and these indicators also have different dimensions. So there are subgroups such as gender, male and female, age brackets, income brackets, I have a few examples of indicators here. There are MDG indicators as well as SDG indicators in the system. Some examples of those are the infant mortality rate by sex, prevalence of underweight children under 5 years of age by sex, and just off the top of my head, I remember that this one in particular was one of the indicators that when we were compiling the MDGs, the department or the Ministry of Health indicated that the data did exist, they were collecting it, but it was in boxes, so they could not readily provide it to us for updating in the system. So these are some of the challenges that we have faced along the way. Social indicators include, for instance, the ratio of girls to boys in primary education. This indicator is also for secondary and tertiary education. We have the proportion of population living below the poverty line. Our department has not yet fully or officially established a poverty line. So in the meantime, we use 1,500 guilders, or just around the minimum wage, as a proxy for that. Economic indicators include some of the common ones, such as the GDP per capita and employed population by gross monthly income. As I mentioned, the database does not contain primary data. In the case of STAT, primary data comes from our survey activities. Government ministries also collect primary data in the form of their information systems. I've heard about plans for health information system. I know the education ministry also has the education management information system. Justice also has information systems, and there are other departments such as the labor, where we have work permits being issued, and other departments that deal with the public and retrieve information from them. This primary data would not be entered into the system, however, there is output. Usually there are reports or publications that come out of these processes, and this is where the program indicators would be identified from. So specific reports that are drafted on an annual basis. I know the State of the Education report is done on an annual basis. These are the type of outputs that we are looking for to identify indicators that could be entered into the database system. So once we have those indicators, we can monitor, we can carry out evidence-based monitoring of our programs and plans via Sintmaarteninfo and evaluate these via dashboards and profiles, which I will show you in a few moments. The key features of the database are, first you have to select an indicator, or you might be interested in a certain indicator from within a particular sector, and then this indicator can be displayed in the form of tables, charts. There are many different charts that you can choose from, for instance, column charts, pie charts, pyramids, tree maps, goes on and on. And I think one of the coolest features of the database is the fact that once you have data associated to a shapefile, for instance, the district, we have 8 official districts on St. Martin. So if you have an indicator that is disaggregated by district, we can associate that to at least the official districts on St. Martin and display it on a map similar to what you see on the screen. Where does the data come from that is currently in the database? As I mentioned, it is an indicator-based system, and at the core are MDG and SDG indicators. However, we did face a number of challenges when we were trying to compile MDG indicators on a country basis. So we decided that we would use whatever data sources we had readily available. So from the MDG report which started in 2013, the second MDG report, all of the data that was collected for that purpose, we compiled, as well as the census results, the population census of 2011. We also had the labor force survey that was conducted in 2013. We took those results, as well as information that the department had compiled for its 2014 statistical yearbook. And we said, we won't wait until we have all of the indicators ready. Let's just start with what we have. The company Data for All is a foundation based in New York and India, and that is the company that actually built the database. They delivered 4 products to St. Martin. The Sintmaarteninfo database, which is across a general database with general statistics across different sectors. The CensusInfo database has specific indicators of census data only. There's also an online national dashboard and a country profile. So we will go to the homepage of the Sintmaarteninfo database, so you can have a look. So as I mentioned, the URL is actually definfo.org, which is the global database / Sintmaarteninfo that takes you to the national adaptation, which is Sintmaarteninfo. At the top, you have the Sintmaarteninfo banner, so at any point in time at the site, you can always come back to the homepage by clicking on this banner. At the top, we have the catalog, so if there are other databases, other subnational databases, these would be cataloged here. My data is a feature that if you have tables in Excel, you can actually import them into this database system and use the features such as the tables and the charts and the maps that I mentioned. The gallery, once you have visualized an object, you can save it in a gallery and it can later be copied to a document or report or presentation that you might be working on. This was calculated for 2011 and 2012, and it says, at birth, females on average are expected to live around to the age of 77. And for males, you would see that that average is about 8 years less. That was calculated, as I said, a couple years ago, so maybe now the averages are looking better. This infographic is basically looking at the utility sales of GEBE. We see that 53.2% of the sales volume of electricity goes towards the commercial consumer, whereas 28.9% is used by the domestic consumers. And this is the unemployment figures at the time of the census in 2011. We saw that unemployment amongst females was 12.9% as compared to males at 10.1% at the time. We can suppress this bar and do a search. So we're going to search on indicators. There are two ways that you can search. You can use the quick data search, which I would suggest if you already have in mind or if you know some of the indicators that are in the system, you can use the quick data search. Otherwise, you can click on the advanced search. I just would like to do a few examples. The first one will be incidence of reported physical abuse, and this was in 2012. The indicators are categorized by sector. If you click on it, you will see some of the common sectors: demography, economy, education, environment, health, etc. Or by goals, as I mentioned. The Millennium Development Goals and the Sustainable Development Goals are core. The structure of them are already in the database. So once we have indicators on St. Martin that we can measure against these, we can add them as well. Or you can search by source, but then you would have to actually know what the sources of the information is. So we go back to the sector. As I mentioned, the first indicator that I will visualize is incidence of reported physical abuse. That is under protection, under crime, crime. And there you see the indicator, incidence of reported physical abuse. We click for females and males and then submit. By default, it shows a line graph. However, we'd like to change that, and the table gives you the data values. So you will see that in 2011, we had 133 males reporting physical abuse versus 102, which is probably not what you would expect. And 2012, 145 males reporting physical abuse compared to 133. If you would want to visualize this, you have the possibility, as I mentioned, to use the different options at the top, the different chart options. In this case, we would first swap the table and then click on the pie chart, and you now have this visualization in a chart. It is possible to save it as an Excel. You can download it as an image, as I mentioned, you can also save it in the gallery so that it could be exported to a presentation or report, etc. We'll try another indicator, this time gender parity. We use the quick data search and type in gender parity in primary level enrollment. This indicator is basically, let's visualize. In a column chart. Okay. When you hover over the bar, it will give you the data value. So if we had a data value of 1, it means that we have equal amount of girls and boys enrolled in primary school. A value greater than 1 means that we have more females enrolled in primary school at the moment compared to males. And in 2012, 1.053, so even a greater disparity. We would now do let's do the unemployed population by district. This information is available on the second level, which means it's not for the total St. Martin, but on the level of the 8 districts that I mentioned, the official 8 districts. So we have the unemployed population from within all of the 8 districts on the island. We're going to visualize this on the map. Can you change the color scheme? Okay. Just to show some of the features of the database. We can do a traffic light map, as we can call it. Before doing that, can we add the labels of the districts so we can see which districts we're talking about? And, okay. So we have the unemployed rates ranging from 4.6% to 12% across the districts. So we will change the color scheme on this map to show a traffic light, meaning the lower percentages of the unemployed rate would be in the color green, medium would be yellow, and for those districts where we have unemployment rates of 10% and higher, they would be in red. So there you see the districts, Lower Princess Quarter, Cul-de-Sac, Little Bay, where we have, or had in 2013, the higher unemployment rates of above 10%, versus Simpson Bay and Phillipsburg with a lower unemployment rate. We should be able to also put the data values on there so you can see the exact numbers. Nope. All right. Okay, so moving along, we'll just go to the second database, which is CensusInfo, and I'd like to visualize the population pyramid. The homepage is very similar to the Sintmaarteninfo, and as I said, the Sintmaarteninfo has more general statistics overall. You'll find the different sectors, education, crime, as much as we have it, labor, health, whereas for the CensusInfo, it contains basically the results of the census. So we are going to look for the indicator population by age groups. Because as you know, a population pyramid is a bar graph in the opposite direction showing male and females on opposite sides. So what we would have to do is click the indicator population by age group. We don't want both sexes. We want to see females on one side and males on the next. So we have to choose our subgroups. We start with females and the different age groups in five group intervals. So 15 to 19, 20 to 24, 25 to 29, 30 to 34, 35 to 39, 40 to 44, and we go right up to 95 plus years. We do the same for males. Choose the different age groups, starting from 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, 15 to 19, 20 to 24, 25 to 29. This is a bit tedious, but these are the dimensions we want to see on the chart, so we do have to select them all. And then we click submit. Okay, for the essence of time, I guess we won't be able to show that population pyramid.
It's saying no internet access.
No internet access. Okay, we lost the connection there. Apologies for that. We can return to the presentation and just wrap up. Or let me quickly show the dashboard if you can. No. So we have a dashboard, and instead of you actually selecting the indicators and your objects, okay, here we go. We have some common indicators in an interactive manner. We have different tabs. So here you see the population size as calculated in 2011 during the census, as well as our estimates in 2015. You can compare them. We have different tabs, economy, and the images are not showing, but it's meant to give you a quick snapshot of the different indicators that we have available.